are no Infinity Ward developers, so we're no longer going to call them developers, and we'll get more into that throughout this episode. But Infinity Ward doesn't have a dev team. They have employees. Some of them, their job titles are developer. These people are embezzling funds because they don't develop anything. They haven't developed a game, obviously. So they're embezzlers. But don't call them devs. Infinity Ward doesn't have a dev team. They're not a dev team. They're a PSYOP. For ad-free episodes, as well as early access and bonus episodes, check out our Patreon. Activision devs do not play their own game.
3,000 devs can't figure out how to add a reconnect feature to a AAA title, I guess. I don't know.
Because Infinity Ward doesn't tell their consumers anything.
Maybe that'll take some of the sweats away from Shoot House.
You can cope about that, for sure.
Thanks for tweeting, at least. Thanks for doing more than Infinity Ward has done. They just keep tweeting about the soccer bundles in the store.
Things that are bad. We've got a couple words. Why don't you kick it off, Tanner?
This is going to be a longer section than the first part you guys heard.
Change it, obviously, of course. We are absolutely fucking live, boys and girls. Welcome to the Dropshot Call of Duty Podcast, episode number 357. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. Today, I am joined by Tanner.
Hey.
And this fine afternoon, Tanner and I are going to stick to our game plan insofar as we are able, and talk about Fort Resurgence, the new map, the quote-unquote new map. And our first impressions is a stretch to say, but we're going to talk a little bit more about Fort Resurgence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what's on the docket today. And then if that ends a little early, which we expect it will, we're going to kind of just talk in general about Call of Duty and stuff. And, you know, we'll get there. And it's going to be fun and exciting no matter what. Now, a couple of announcements before we get started here. Looking to a brighter future. Next Saturday, we have a very exciting episode planned that I'm actually looking forward to a lot, and I'm excited to do. And it is going to be a farewell to Warzone 1. So we're not exactly sure how we're going to do it yet, but we will probably show some of our clips or highlights from Warzone 1 that we've saved up over the years when we played Warzone 1. We will talk about it, reminisce, kind of just take a trip down memory lane. It's not going to be like some big academic piece comparing Warzone 1 and Warzone 2 exactly, although obviously that's going to come up. It's going to more just be like talking about Warzone 1 and sending it off.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole thing. We're just going to talk about Warzone 1 since, by the way, the impetus for this episode is that Warzone 1 will be ending forever on the 24th. So,
21st.
21st, which is what I said. So, for that reason, before it gets shut down, Tanner and I will be talking about it. And again, yeah, we might show some clips. We probably will. We won't focus too heavily on that, I don't think, so that it's still a good audio-only experience. But I think we would be remiss not to show some of our favorite little clips of ourselves and maybe other people as well.
Because a lot of the clips will lead to discussion and things we want to talk about, because 95% of the clips I have saved are sniping clips.
Yeah.
Which was the reason Warzone 1 was fun for a while, yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll kind of play into all that too. It'll for sure be better if you watch it. Join us
it'll
live
be better
if you want,
watch it. Yeah.
or watch on YouTube. But yeah, you can listen. It'll be okay.
Yeah. We're going to have to include the L clip, which might be my favorite Warzone 1 clip of all time.
Which one was that again?
L was streaming, and me and you were playing with him, and maybe someone else. And you were like, oh, I don't even care if I die. And then you're like, oh, fuck, there's a whole team in here, and you just like freak out.
Oh,
It's a great piece of media.
I don't have that clip. I don't know if you do.
Elle has it. He posted it like 2 weeks ago, which is what reminded me of it.
Oh, he did. Yeah. Okay.
Fantastic piece of media. And then we'll show the I cheated clip, of course.
You have that one?
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, somewhere. I'll have to find it.
I cheated, man.
A
bunch of the clips are on our TikTok, actually.
Oh yeah, there's probably some on TikTok too.
Hundreds of clips on there.
That's true. Yeah,
because I've deleted them most off my computer. Actually, I only found like 15 of them saved or something, but they're all uploaded to TikTok.
Yeah, so we'll, then I'll take an hour or so and kind of get all those together. Maybe I'll even just put them in one big video that we can just play. I don't know how long that would take. I don't know how much longer. I don't know if that would be worth the effort, but I think it might be instead of pulling up. Probably not.
Yeah, that's true. Even just putting them all, like not even doing any editing or trimming, just simply
just
putting
literally
them all in
slapping
just
them
for
in.
us to hit play. That would probably be better. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll probably do that. But either way, we'll figure it out, and that'll be fun and exciting. So that's what we're going to be doing next Saturday. And in the meantime, obviously, we will be doing our regular news episode for 358, our next public episode. Don't expect there to be much to talk about, by the way, when we do that episode. There won't be. Nothing's really going to change, I expect.
Yeah.
By Thursday. So right now, as far as Warzone 2, the current game, we're just waiting for season 6, really. So, and then for Call of Duty generally, and this podcast, we're going to be looking to the past for next Saturday. And then beyond that, we're going to be looking to MW 3. And then, interspersed in between those episodes, we will talk about the one fucking gun, the new melee Tonfa fucking, I don't know, bow staff melee weapon that the Infinity Ward embezzlers. And by the way, if you say Infinity Ward dev in any official Dropshot channel, you will be timed out and warned. And on offense number 2, you'll be banned. There are no Infinity Ward developers, so we're no longer going to call them developers. And we'll get more into that throughout this episode. But Infinity Ward doesn't have a dev team. They have employees, sure. Some of them, their job titles are developer. These people are embezzling funds from the parent company, which is, I think, Activision. Because they don't develop anything. They haven't developed a game, obviously. So they're embezzlers. Or employees is fine too. But don't call them devs. Infinity Ward doesn't have a dev team. They're not a dev team. They're a psyop. So, anyways, that's what we've got planned for next Saturday. I mean, and hopefully by Thursday, by the way, we get some more leaks or news about MW 3. I find this very unlikely, but hopefully we do. Yeah.
I kind of think we're done with MW 3 info until COD Next, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I kind of don't think we're getting any.
Yeah.
Well, Season 6 will get some leaks at least for...
Like some data mine leaks?
Maybe some data mine stuff,
Maybe.
but most of that even will probably just be like info about the haunting event, which we've already had a ton of leaks and info on that. So yeah, I'm thinking kind of no MW 3 news until COD Next.
That's what seems to be the most likely, yes.
But yeah, with with our Caldera app, other than that, we really only have 2 other Saturday episodes before we get to the COD Next event, so we'll figure something out for those 2.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit of
excitement again.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be a little bit of a slog, but in the meantime, but we will do what we can, and again, we will hope, probably overly optimistically, for some MW 3 leaks in the meantime. Another reminder is Monday we will be on Crash Games podcast The Scope, Monday the 11th, and that's going to be taking place live on his YouTube channel at 3:30 Pacific time. So if you join the Discord in the events tab, it is placed there as an event. it auto adjusts to your time zone. So whatever time you see there in Discord in the events tab is the time for you that it will take place. And with the events tab in there, it's also a direct link to his channel. So just join the Discord if you want to watch it. Click on his YouTube, subscribe, turn on noties even before Monday if you want, and then you'll catch us there. Not sure what we're going to talk about really beyond Call of Duty generally, but we're excited about it. We've never been guests on a podcast before, so that should be interesting. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. It'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the day of too, if you follow us on Twitter, probably a few hours before, we'll tweet out and tweet the link.
Yeah.
There he is. We'll tweet the link to the channel. Yeah.
Yep.
Let you guys know where it's at.
So, yeah. Other than that, if you're listening for the jingle, here it is.
He's a little late today, but he made it, huh?
What? Oh, I have, hold on.
Yes, you just don't look at the chat.
No, I had slobs open.
Oh.
I wasn't sure if my bullshit was gonna freeze again today, so. But I think it was a hard drive issue. Mike with a $20 super chat. Sup, kids, American Eagle. And it is not just an eagle, it's an American eagle, obviously. Mike, thank you very much, dude, for the $20 super chat. Brother, we appreciate it. Very kind of you, sir, and welcome as always. And very generous of you as always. All right, today we are talking Fort Resurgence, first impressions, quote unquote. Now, caveat, to be clear, haven't played again since I last talked about this map. My opinions and thoughts on it have evolved very slightly in a very narrow area, or a few, which we'll get into here. But my opinion of the map is not great still. So number one, and the reason I haven't played it anymore is not because I refuse to do my due diligence, but because again, there are multiple reasons. No one would want to play with me and they shouldn't, because it's not a fun or interesting map. Number two, none of you probably give a fuck either, because none of you are probably playing it either. So I would be subjecting myself to this for no reason. And number three, which is the thesis that we are going to be building toward, which is not a surprise, is that no matter what we learn about the map, no matter how much better we get at navigating the map or doing well on the map, no matter how many improvements they make to the map, it'll still never be not the worst Warzone map. So who cares? Ultimately.
Yeah.
And especially when I can choose to just never play that map, probably, there's always going to be a playlist. Like, Trios is Ashika only this week. Okay, cool. Then I'm just not playing Fort, because I'll play that. There's always going to be another playlist that doesn't have Fort that I'll always play. If I can avoid it forever, then I'm basically just going to. So for those reasons, haven't played it again. And then Tanner, how much have you played Fort Resurgence?
Yeah. Yeah. So I could stomach 2 games.
2 games, huh?
2 games last night. Yeah. So, yeah, played Tarkov yesterday. I'll run you through a quick little afternoon here. Played Tarkov with Jake. Had some excellent raids for, God, I don't know, 8 hours straight yesterday, something like that.
Yeah, you were grinding yesterday.
He got off. Lag and Cope were playing Apex, because they also don't play Warzone anymore. So I kind of threw something out there as mostly a joke. I said, Fort Resurgence? And Lag was like, are you serious? I'll play. I'm like, yeah, I should play it. Yeah, let's try it. So we load up the game. Cope has an update, because he hasn't played the game in like a month. So he has a big update. We wait for him. He finally gets his update done. He has to restart his game, of course, because update requires restart. As he was doing all that, Lag and I was like, oh, let's just queue. Let's try to get into a match. So Lag and I form a lobby. We queue. Doesn't work. just couldn't get into a match.
It
It shows us 2 teammates. We start loading in. We hear the countdown. My screen goes like black or something, and then lags at the main menu or something. And he's like, you're not even in the party with me. I'm like, what are you talking about? Then all of a sudden, my screen goes back to the lobby, and we have 0 teammates, and I'm just sitting there at the main menu with lag like I never clicked the Q button. So just a fantastic, typical Call of Duty start.
That's hilarious.
So we do that. Cope gets in there finally. He joins on us after us sending him about 10 invites. One of them eventually worked. He was able to join on us. Again, these are all things that have been issues since Warzone launched in 2020. So he finally gets in there with us. Yeah, we start loading into a match. We find one pretty quickly, yeah. Immediately we start loading in. First thing I notice, Al Mazrah. Hey, am I playing Al Mazrah BR or am I playing Resurgence?
I thought I miscued.
Yeah, so it's just all Al Mazrah UI. The little map in the top right doesn't. They can't even change anything to say Fortress. It just says Al Mazrah. You load in. You wouldn't even know what you're playing in the pregame match at that point still, because you can float and land wherever because it's just the whole map. Yeah, so it's like there's not like you still just don't even know. Like obviously you can look at the player count and know, but it's like what am I even playing?
Yeah.
So I mean,
I forgot about that.
The UI stuff obviously it doesn't actually matter, but also more than anything it just shows that the embezzlers are not game. They're embezzlers.
Correct.
That's what they do. It just goes to show you how incompetent and lazy they are because of these things that they do. Yeah. So we get in first match. What happens? All 3 of us are stuttering the entire match. I guess the server issues are back that they've fixed how many times this year?
Yeah.
So the first match is just all stuttering. I mean, like virtually unplayable. Probably 3 minutes into the match, there were 24 players left. A couple minutes later, there were 15 players left. You are right. There's no loot on the ramparts. I landed somewhere and there was a chest. I'm like, oh, there seems like there's loot. I'm not sure what Raz was talking about. Then I decided to run. I ran a good 50 feet. There was not a single other piece of loot anywhere. Yeah. I just so happened to land on the only chest that was up there.
Mm-hmm.
So first match, constant stuttering. We ended up dying. Remember how a month ago when we were playing ranked, Jake and I kept saying, I swear there's a random bug with the Lockman sub where it does double damage per bullet or something, and it feels like the very first, not the first gunfight I get into, after I eventually got a loadout, which is hard to get to because there's, I think 5 of them were in the same spot as ours, so everyone's trying to get them.
Yeah.
That's also why the lobby dies off because of that. They're all in the same little area trying to grab their loadout and they all kill each other. Yeah. Because the way the loadouts drop. So finally get my loadout. I'm running around, stuttering around. Sorry, I wasn't running around. I was stuttering around the map. Get in a gunfight with some guy with his loadout. He peeks up. I get a few shots on him, so I know he has at least 2 plates cracked. I hit him probably 4 times maybe with my HCR from, 30 meters. So Cope and I start pushing up the stairs. I run up to the top of the stairs. I start shooting at him, and I am dead in what felt like a Season 1 Fennec time to kill. And I'm like,
damn.
I was fully plated. What the fuck is going on? So I watched the kill cam. I hit the guy. Originally, he doesn't plate up, so I don't know how many plates he actually had. I don't know how much damage he had. He comes around as I'm running up the stairs, and he shoots me in my chest, and I'm not kidding. It looks like on the kill cam, and it felt like I get 4 bulleted to a Lockman sub at 5 meters. I swear to God, there is a bug with them at random, and that's been a thing for over a month now. Something is wrong with that gun where it just kills twice as fast sometimes. It doesn't happen most of the time, but I've had 5 deaths now between ranked and Resurgence where I'm like, that is not a time to kill. If you time that out, that is not anywhere close to what the time to kill is supposed to be. He didn't even hit a headshot on me. There's something broken with it. I swear to God, it's bugged. So anyways, so that was that. So we eventually die. So load into a second match. No stuttering, thankfully. Let's be clear. We were all done after the first match, but I was like... whatever, we'll just play another one. I mean, we were all ready to hop off. He said, that was an experience. This game's dead until Modern Warfare 3 comes out. All these bugs, it's ridiculous. So we load into a second match. It went a little better. We're running around, fighting people, getting some kills, got our loadouts. I see a portable buy floating across. So I'm like, I'm going to shoot this down. You can't. I guess you just can't shoot down portable buys on Fort Resurgence.
Were you getting
I'm
hit
shooting
markers?
No, I'm seeing the bullets hit it, and I would not get a single hit marker. There was no hit markers. It was like 4 minutes into the match. There were no hit markers.
Just like
I'm shooting it with my HCR. I see it coming up. It's broken. It's bugged, of course.
Yeah.
How does that get bugged? I kill some guy. I go up, and there's a Damascus dog tag on the ground that I loot and pick in my backpack that says it's like worth however many thousands of dollars. I'm just like,
no, really?
This is a video game. This is a video game that was supposedly, quote, developed by Game, aka embezzlers from Infinity. I can't believe it. So I'm looting dog tags, all of it. I can't shoot down portable buy stations. There are 8 people left in the match, 5 minutes into it. It's just... Fortress Resurgence is the most perfect reminder and the best example that quality assurance does not exist at Infinity War. It is quite literally a whole psychological operation. It's not real. They don't play test anything. There's no way. They didn't do anything. It's all just one big joke. It does not exist. It is it's just so I'm trying to think of all the LTMs in Warzone history. I don't think there's a worse LTM than Fort Resurgence game mode. I don't know if anything's ever been worse in Warzone.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Lockdown, way better. Plunder, 1,000 times better. Armored Royale, I haven't played. Miserable mode. But Armored Royale, the difference is that would actually be fun for like 2 matches. We'd be laughing. It'd be fun.
Yeah, it would work.
Fort Resurgence does none of that for you.
Yeah,
The haunting events... I would rather, I think, get my ass raped to like Godzilla and King Kong again on Caldera, honestly. I'd rather get dive bombed grabbing my loadout on Caldera than I would play Fort Resurgence again. So it is
yeah. Oh, I got
just the laziest, the worst. Oh, that's a good one too. There's never been anything worse in Warzone, I don't think. I'm not kidding. This is the worst Warzone experience. It's not only the worst Resurgence map we've ever had or the worst map we've ever had, it is the worst experience in Warzone history, I'm pretty sure. Like, it's seriously that bad. It's unplayable. I don't know how anyone can even stomach to queue for the mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, the map design is horrible, because what they did, again... They took a bottom 3 POI on Al Mazrah and turned that into the Resurgence map. Yeah. It's just Fortress is a horrible POI. There's all these little rooms and shit that don't matter. It's never been fun to fight in ranked.
There's like no flow whatsoever. It's
terrible. The circles on it also suck. My first match yesterday, I put a screenshot in internal actually to remind myself. The first zone is already 60% of it is water, and there is 1 buy station. There are 3 total buy stations, and 1 of them will be in the zone once the first circle collapses.
Yeah.
There's like 5 contracts on the map. It's just, it's not playable. It dies off immediately, so it's like, it feels like it needs more players, but then if it gets more players, it's such a small map, would that just make it even worse? I'm not even sure... I don't know how that would all play out. They'd have to add actually 5 times the amount of loot if they added 12 more players or something. It's just like, it's just immediately dead.
All this water, too.
Yeah.
Look at all that water in the zone. Just right off rip.
Yeah. So, yeah, the worst experience. And like Ramin just said in chat, I wonder why they bothered to release it. Yeah, I don't know either. Like, all this did was make the player base more upset because we didn't need the extra content. It's the fact that you guys hyped up and talked about a new Resurgence experience coming. So then we all got excited. We're like, holy shit, another Resurgence map already? Coping maybe that we would get some sort of changes to the way Fortress is laid out. We assumed not. I was like, I doubt they'll change anything, but they need to if they're making a Resurgence map, right? Because it's not a good POI.
Exactly.
So why did they even add this? It did nothing. This literally just makes Resurgence worse because we assume it's going to get added into the rotation starting next week. How it only makes Resurgence worse. There was no reason to even add this. They did such a piss poor, lazy job at doing it. Why even add it? It was a complete waste of their time. It's just a slap in the face to Resurgence players. Like, seriously, if they had a brain, they would just remove the map, like starting next week or like 2 weeks, and be like, due to negative feedback, we've decided to remove Fortress Resurgence from the Resurgence playlist. Like, no one would give a fuck. I'm dead serious.
Now that
I don't think even.
I agree. Yeah.
I'm not exaggerating. It's far less than 1% of the player base, I think, that plays Resurgence would ever choose to play Fortress over Ashika or Vondel. I'm sure there are some brain dead people out there that do prefer this map somehow, but it is such a small number. It's crazy because, as we said on Thursday, I've never seen such hatred and disappointment towards anything in Warzone as this map. Like, in terms of nobody likes it. Really bad players don't like it. Really good players don't like it. Nobody does. So it just made Resurgence worse, and I'm simply shocked at how bad this is. It's just
yeah. I think they painted themselves into a corner, because the day the map came out, actually, everyone was wondering, like, hey, where the fuck is Fort Resurgence? Because it came out at like 11:30 p.m. or something, or a.m. Sorry, like it was like a really weird time that didn't make any sense, and some people were thinking like, oh, it's just not coming today after all, even though that's what we all like kind of thought, and then it randomly got added. I wonder if they were like right up until the last second debating whether they should release it or not, and that's why it came out at like 11:32
That's what I'm thinking too, seriously.
a.m. That's like kind of what it feels like now that we've seen why they might have been hesitant to do it. I agree with you. Obviously, they should just remove the map because it doesn't add anything to the game. It only subtracts from the game. The problem is when they painted themselves into a corner by announcing the new map. Like, we all wanted it, and like you and I were like, it's probably not going to be very good, but at least it'll be something new. But we underestimated just how bad of an experience it was going to be, because they didn't do any work. They simply just loaded you into Al Mazrah and made the circle around Fortress, and then made it Resurgence, and that's all. That's literally all they did.
It's just the sixth circle. If you're playing BR,
they changed the rule set to Resurgence, they changed the player count, and that's it. And then they put the circle on Resurgence, or on Fortress. That's all they've done. So we were under the assumption they would do, and when you pointed out the loading screen, by the way, which I had forgotten to mention on Thursday, that's true too. I thought I queued for the wrong thing when I was in the loading screen, because it said I was queued for Al Mazrah. But when I queue for Vondel, it says I'm queued for Vondel. When I'm queued for Ashika, it says I'm queued for Ashika. When I'm queued for Building 21, probably, it says Building 21. But when I'm queued for Fortress Resurgence, it says I'm queued for Al Mazrah. Once again, goes to show you, it's literally not its own game mode. It makes you just render all of Al Mazrah, which is fucking insane. But anyways, oh my God, what was I saying? Yeah, when they announced that there was going to be a new Resurgence map, we all wanted it because we thought they were going to do more than that, than just make a smaller circle around Al Mazrah. We thought they were going to add, like, Vondel had unique mechanics when it first came out, like the favorite supply boxes was like a unique Vondel only thing. The reinforcement flare, unique Vondel only thing, and then it eventually got added to Ashika, and those were cool. But also, like, it was built for Resurgence, so there was way more loot, there were way more boxes, there were way more plates. Obviously, it was a better designed map in terms of layout and stuff as well. But Fortress got none of that. The loot pool is the same as regular BR, and that's just not enough loot for Resurgence. And in addition to that, the buy stations, of course, and everything else that I already kind of talked about on Thursday. But when they announced the new map and we thought they were going to do more work than they actually did, we thought, okay, it might be decent. It's like not a good POI like structurally, so it's probably not going to be great, but depending on how well they place buy stations, if they add the favorite, and I explicitly said this, whether they add the favorite supply boxes or not, if there's like some new mechanics they're going to add, how the loot situation is, then it could be decent. But now that we know it was nothing, they shouldn't have added it at all. But they had to, because they announced it, and we have gotten no new content for since, again, season 5, to be generous, season 4 Reloaded, to be more precise, though. We had just gotten no new content for so long that I was like, holy shit, it's a bad POI, but give it to me anyway at this point. But it was so bad, and it was so poorly executed that they shouldn't have released it, in fact. What they should have done, I'm not objecting to being given a new Resurgence map, obviously. What they should have done is said, hey, announcing not Fortress, the new Resurgence map. Where is it? Don't care. Not Fortress would be good. Anywhere else, pretty much, would be good. That's what they needed to do. And then they needed to actually, on top of that, do some work. Because let's be clear, if we were to look at Al Mazrah and find the best POI for a Resurgence map, maybe, like Rohan, Tarak area, or maybe, I don't know, Sid City or something, whatever. I don't know. You could look at the map and find like a better POI that would play well for Resurgence. Even if they added the best possible POI, if they did what they did with Fortress, it would still play terribly. It would still play worse than Vondel and Ashika.
Yeah.
If all they did was say, okay, you get to play Tarak and Rohan, which is like a cool structurally Resurgence area, but we're just going to make you render all of Maz. We're going to make it a tiny little circle always in this area. We're not going to change the loot at all. We're not going to change the buys at all. And you're just going to load in and drop there every time. That would still be fucking terrible, actually. So it's like half of the problem is the POI they chose, but maybe even more than half, actually, of the problem is that they didn't do anything to make it Resurgence friendly. It's just the BR. And then they make a smaller circle.
That's a good point.
So yeah, at this point, I would love if they just removed it, but they had to release it after announcing it, especially with this content. They had to.
Yeah, there was definitely something going on internally with that. Like, either they knew how buggy and how it didn't play well, so they kind of like didn't put it out mid-season. Because the timing of it was very weird, because they said in season, and every other time pretty much this year they've said in season. That means it comes before mid-season at a random time. It kind of is based on
literally every time it's been before the Reloaded season.
Like, yeah. I think how things are going, they like drop a new season, so they add Ashika in or something, and then they'll be like, mid-season or in season we're adding this event at some point to Ashika. A week later, they're like, okay, Ashika's not very buggy. We're going to add in this event now. So they add it in. So this is the first time that I can think of this year ever where they've said in season and then it came after the mid-season update. Because if it was coming mid-season, they would have just said mid-season update. So it's...
Correct.
Or after, you would think they would say that as well. Something to do with that. The timing of it was weird. There's definitely something going on internally with the embezzlers where they were considering either not releasing it, pushing it back even more, making other drastic changes. I don't know, but I mean, I guess it's good they didn't waste any more time on this. So I think my honest thoughts are, like, a long time ago when they plan out these seasons, which is months ago, they're probably looking at season 5 and they're like, we kind of have nothing going for it. So at some point they were like, let's just add new content in the form of making a part of Al Mazrah a Resurgence map, so it feels like the players are getting new content. And we don't have to do any sort of work. Because otherwise, Besides that, what did we get this season? Nothing. This is just like the biggest joke of a season. We got like a dirt bike. This season was all based around the MW3 reveal event, which was cool, but you can't base a whole season around that. So they needed other content to sell all their, Lara Croft, Nicki Minaj, Snoop Dogg operators. So they decided to give us some new content, quote, new content, in the form of just the worst Warzone experience we've had yet. Yeah, so just a complete joke. It does kind of give me hope for Season 6, though, since they didn't do anything. So I'm going to cope and think, maybe Season 6 will actually get something. Even if we don't get any new content, at least the Haunting event will be in Season 6, and that'll give us something different and maybe exciting to play. I mean,
Yeah.
even literally just for the whole season or half of season 6, changing like the skybox to like nighttime or something to go along with like a Halloween theme. Even that would just be enough. I don't know. Just do like actually anything other than adding in useless trash guns, a bunch of bundles, and the worst Warzone quote map we've ever had. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think they actually just needed something to fill it with, so they did something easy like that.
That's certainly what it feels like, yeah. And again, I must ask rhetorically once more, as like, you know, I kind of thought, but also, you know, someone in chat reminded me, if they did so little work to add Fortress as a Resurgence map, which they didn't do anything. They didn't change anything about it from BR. They don't even have its own separate render instance. If it was so little work, how did it take this long? Were they trying originally for the last fucking 6 weeks to like make it its own Resurgence instance with the favorite supply boxes and all that, and with extra buy stations or more buy stations that are dynamic rather than static spawns or something? And then it was just too buggy, so they just like backed out of that plan. I'd be happy to learn that that's the case, because at least they were trying to make it playable or Resurgence friendly. But for how little work they did for this experience, how did it take this long? If you were going to do nothing, if you were going to do almost nothing and then just release it, why couldn't you have just done that on the launch of Season 5? I don't get it. I don't get what took so long. I don't understand why it took so long. But
well, they didn't need to put it there.
It would have been dog shit either way, I guess. So
yeah, it doesn't matter. But they had to drip feed us the content, because the only exciting thing in the first half of the season was their reveal event. So if they also did the map at the launch of the season, what would we have gotten at mid-season? Actually, nothing. Nothing was put in there.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I guess that's why, probably.
Yeah.
Because yeah, again, these are all like, these seasons are planned months in advance. They have this all. I mean, right now we're in early September. They probably have through season 2 or 3 of the next Warzone experience planned out already. Like what they're doing.
Like season 2 is probably planned. Yeah. Like that whole timetable and most of the content. So anyway, yeah, the next point would be, how do you save Fort Resurgence? How do you sufficiently improve this map to make it a fun, a worthy Resurgence play space? I will say this. This map can be improved tremendously. I don't think it can be saved, though. So we're going to talk about some things they could do. If there were devs in Infinity Ward, what they could do to make Fort Resurgence better, more playable. But to be clear, and I'll reiterate this again when we're done with this point, if they did all of the things we are about to suggest, it would still be the worst Resurgence map by far of the 3 available in Warzone 2, to be clear. And this, again, is why I have not bothered giving it another chance. Because it doesn't matter, and they could do all they want, and they could make a ton of good changes to make it play better, and it would still be dog shit, because it's not a good play area. But how could they improve the map? First of all, they could add way more loot to the ramparts, way more loose plates, way more loose weapons and stuff. Have the loot experience be similar to Vondel or Ashika. If you just run around on Vondel and Ashika, you'll have full plates, some ammo, and a serviceable gun 95% of the time after 30 seconds. 95%. Not always. Sometimes you get fucked. 95% of the time, though. Pretty much no matter where you are. On Fort Resurgence, that is not true at all. And it's extremely perilous trying to loot, because you're either on the ramparts where there's no loot, where there are other people with very clear lines of sight on you from an infinite number of different angles, any other rampart basically, or in a tower above you. Or you're like inside the fort in tiny little rooms, going from one tiny room with no LOS on anything to the next tiny little room with no LOS on anything.
Wasted space.
So it's just it's a disaster. It's like, okay, maybe there's not enough loot in each tiny little room, by the way. So you go into a tiny little room and you're like, all right, hopefully there are guns, ammo, and plates and not a whole other team crouching in here. And you're just fucking rolling the dice. So maybe you get lucky. Cool, man. Good for you. Now you're going to go to the next little room. And you can't really peek the next little room. You just have to go in. There's no like line of sight. There's no scouting opportunity. It's just like, this is about to be a team wipe for someone, or there's no one in there. Compare this with Vondel, for example. If there's like another team within 20 meters of me, they're probably or often on my rooftop far away, where there's open space, there are lines of sight. I see them coming, or I see them not coming. I see them camping. There are pieces of cover. There are opportunities to push. There are opportunities to take cover. There are opportunities to bail out by jumping off the roof. Compare this with Fort Resurgence. You're in a room. You go down or up to the next room. And there's either a team on top of you or there isn't. That's it. There's no like outplay potential. Obviously there's some, but it's just not a good experience at all. Or you're on the ramparts and you see everyone else who's outside. And if you somehow are alone on this elevated position, then which happens actually pretty often, 2 minutes into the game when there are only two other teams left, you're the only team on the ramparts. You just won. Congrats. Because everyone's loadout is going to drop on the beach and you have the clearest line of sight possible. And there isn't a goddamn thing anyone else can do about it. It's miserable. It's a miserable dog shit and trash play area. So once again, they could add more loot. That would help. But again, good luck looting. I mean, the most precarious task of all time. They could add way more buy stations. That would help a lot. But again, there would need to be loot so that there's money for me to spend at buy stations, which there currently isn't. They could probably add more rappels. I would have to play more to get a sense for that. That would help.
They're not doing that since it's the whole map.
But they won't be doing that, exactly.
That's the other thing. That's why I don't think they can make any sort of map changes to it, because you're just loading into Al Mazrah, so they can't make map changes to it. Because if they did change something, they would be making changes to Al Mazrah as well.
True.
That's why it's...
And that's another thing. That the biggest thing they could do to save this map, which will never happen, is make it its own fucking instance. Make a separate Fort Resurgence map. Just like, again, I will use this analogy. When I play MW19 and I play Krovnik Farmland, the ground war map, I don't render all of Verdansk and then drop onto farmland specifically, and there's gas keeping me from going to prison. That's not how it works. It just loads farmland. It's its own thing, so they can have separate... I mean, in Ground War's case, there's no ground loot, obviously, but there can be separate rules and map features and pieces of cover, even if they need to do that. Like, there are differences between Krovnik Farmland, the Ground War map, and the area of Krovnik Farmland on Verdansk, the BR map. There are some differences. I can't name any for that map specifically, but I know for like Boneyard, there are differences. Or one I can like clearly point out is Scrapyard, the Sixes map. They don't make you load Verdansk to play Scrapyard. They don't make you load the Ground War map to play the Sixes map either. It's a separate instance. And Scrapyard is very similar to Boneyard's version of Scrapyard, But on Scrapyard, the area where you can run out to the plains, the boneyard of plains or whatever, is just closed off because it's a separate instance, so they can do that. They can make changes like that. But they're not going to do this because if they were going to, they would have done it already. And then that would allow them, like Tanner just said, to make changes that are specific to the Resurgence map that don't impact the BR map. But whatever repels exist in Al Mazrah BR at Fortress exist on this map specifically because they're the same fucking thing. So there probably could be more repels, but there won't be because they're not going to add more repels to Al Mazrah just to make it better for Fortress, which no one's playing. And they're going to say, oh, well, no one's playing it, so we're not going to support it, kind of like they did with DMZ, right? But the problem is, the reason no one's playing it is because you fucked up the launch of it. So that doesn't justify you not putting any more resources into it. So anyways, whatever. Yeah, that's another thing they could do to make it better. Another thing some people are starting to say on Twitter is it needs more players because the lobby dies out so fast. I disagree with this.
I think that's kind of wrong.
Yeah, tell me more.
Well, it's like, if I get it in theory, it makes sense when you first think about it because it dies off so quick, but if they added like 12, 16, 20 extra players, how would you ever land back again? You wouldn't be able to. You would just get shot out of the sky every single time from someone up on Fortress. Like, I don't even know how that would work. I don't think that would necessarily... It's technically going to keep the lobby alive longer because there are more players, but it's just like you won't be able to regain anyways.
Yeah. Like you made a really good point too. The loadouts drop like in clusters. Mm-hmm. They don't drop like individually for each team. That's a huge problem, and if there were more players, that would just be more people being thrown into the wood chipper at these loadouts.
Yeah.
They're so easy to camp. I talked about this on Thursday, but the second game I played, I got second place, and I was doing this. Like, our loadout dropped next to 3 others. Mm-hmm. I happened to have a smoke, like a ground loot smoke, so I was able to get my loadout, and then I went back out, stood on the wall, and just camped it. And just people would just be floating in the sky, falling on it. And I'd get them one shot or down them in the sky, and if I didn't, they would just be prone, and I'd just be staring straight at them, killing them. And this would be even better if I was like up on the ramparts on the fortress.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the fact that all the loadouts drop together is not good either. And also, there's so much goddamn water on this map that like
I did never go to the water, but
I don't go in the water either. But the problem is when the circle is 70% water, they're not going to drop the loadout in the water. So it's really like your loadout drop is coming in like the 9th circle. That's how small of an area the loadout can possibly drop in, which makes it really hard to get. So yeah, I kind of agree with you. More players would not make it. I don't think it would make the lobbies healthier. I think they would die off just as quickly. Because the problem isn't like too few people, and that's why it's gets thinned out really quickly. It's because the map is designed so poorly that everyone just dies right away. And if you add more players, it's more guns to be shooting at people for them to die right away still. And it like the end game is still going to be just as fucking dead, or mid game, I should say. So yeah, I don't think that would help much either. I get the idea though, because it just dies so quickly, so it feels like it needs it. But yeah, when you really think about how it would affect the pacing, I don't think it's going to help. You're just like, you're not going to be able to regain anyways. Yeah. It's going to make it harder.
Like, obviously. Yeah. I mean, it may still make the map better, probably. Because at least it would maybe be somewhat fun if you're the person shooting people out of the sky. But yeah, so it's like, I would still like to experiment with it, see how it'd be if they added like, if it was 50 players or somewhere around there. But yeah, even if they add that, more loot. Buy stations I never even thought about going to at all, so I don't even really care about that. there's just like there's such a small amount of time that's like the lobby's just dead right away. I'm never thinking to go to a buy station to like buy plates or buy a UAV, because like at that point when I have money to do anything, there are less than 20 players left. It's like, why would I even waste my time running to this buy station to buy something? By that point, there will be 12 players left. So I'm not even going to do that. I'd rather just be able to shoot people. Yeah. I mean, you don't even need buy stations on the map. Just remove them entirely. You don't need them. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's all, it's really bad. It's funny too, because like lag and Cope, I don't think really understood what it was. So it's funny loading in like the first game. More of the circle was water and the land north of the fortress island than actual fortress. And I think lag or someone was like, I thought it was supposed to be like fortress, like the island. It's like, nope, just that area. Yeah. So, because like, yeah, I think it was lag. He's like, why can you go to the land on the other side of the water? I'm like, I don't know, because they're fucking dumb. Yeah. So like someone had said last week, and someone had said on Thursday, and I think I pointed out in that episode, that was a good point. I would rather them just do Al Mazrah Resurgence, this same thing they're doing now, totally random every game, so you don't know where it's going to be. You load up Al Mazrah Resurgence, maybe you get super unlucky and downtown's the circle, and you're like, oh, this is going to fucking suck. And the next time you'll get Hydro Resurgence, like something that would actually mix it up and be interesting. Because seriously, why not just do that at this point? You didn't make any specific Resurgence changes. We're loading the whole map. Just make it Al Mazrah Resurgence. That would actually be, I think, kind of fun.
I think that could
just
be cool.
just like never knowing where the circle is going to be until you load it, until you're starting the match. I think that'd be cool. Yeah. Would it lead to some really bad circles and ultimately still a way worse experience than a Sheikah and Vondel? Of course, but it's something different that would kind of mix it up. It'd be a different pace.
Yeah, I agree. Not
at all hard for them to do.
Yeah, it would be super easy for them to do. That's what they did, in fact, with Fortress. So instead of just making the circle be there, make the circle instead the same size, but just code it to be random. Put it anywhere. Yeah. That's all the work they have to do. They could do it in 10 minutes.
And obviously, just do it in areas where there are buy stations, pretty much.
Yeah.
Buy station
and
locations.
It couldn't be, just have it be centered on one of, 15 random POIs instead of just one random POI or one POI. And that, like you said, that would be still inferior to a Sheikah or Vondel, which are handcrafted Resurgence specific maps. So of course it would be. But it wouldn't be worse than Fortress only. It would undoubtedly be better than Fortress only. I'd rather play 2 hours of that than 2 hours of Fortress specifically. For sure. There's no doubt.
Yeah, the only one
novelty, but also there are better play spaces.
The only place that I'm confident would be worse than Fortress would be downtown Al Mazrah City. Other than that, like honestly, we had said Sawa Village would be worse, but when I think about it, there are at least more buildings and it's more
flat.
You could at least be fighting in buildings. Fortress, it's like the fights are like, they feel very weird and random. I don't know. Like Vondel has all these roofs and stuff, but it's like you end up fighting in the buildings and on the roof so often against another team because it's easy to push even if they're on a roof. You can push from so many different places, up their staircase, up another staircase next to it, up a rappel, get on a different roof, fly over to them, hit a balloon, land. Like there's so many different ways, but it all comes down to like you fight so much in the actual buildings themselves. So I think Sawa Village would even be better. No, they're not.
No balloons either. I didn't even think about that, but there's no balloons. There might be the field upgrade, since that's in the Al Mazrah loot pool, but there are no like actual balloons. Yeah,
I've checked the screenshots we have here. Yeah, no, nothing.
That would help too. But yeah, so the point is, can the map be improved? For sure. Like that's a list of some things we can think of. If we played more or cared to, there are almost certainly other things we haven't mentioned that could make this a better experience. However, again, if they did literally everything we just recommended, except for changing the POIs, because that wouldn't be Fortress anymore. If they did everything else we recommended, it would be better. It would still be way worse than a Sheikah or Vondel. If they added favorite supply boxes and more buy stations and balloons and more loot and more loot boxes And they spread out the loadies to be centered on teams, not in clusters like they are. If they did all that, everything we mentioned, it would still be far worse than a Sheikah or Vondel. And that's why we haven't played it more, because who cares? I could recommend things to make it better till the cows come home, as my father would say. But who gives a fuck? Because it would still be fucking awful, and I would dodge it at every conceivable opportunity. And because of how they do weekly playlist updates, you can dodge this map and play Resurgence until MW3 comes out every single day, no problem. Which is what I plan to do. If I'm playing Resurgence, it's never Fortress, because I can dodge it every single week. So I will. Fuck that map. So why bother? Why bother trying to learn it and get good at it, or like think of things that could make it better, or hope for things to make it better, when I can just not play it? Because no matter how much it's improved, it's such a miserable POI to play Resurgence at that it'll never compare to a Sheikah or Vondel, so I'll just go play those instead. And that's probably how all of you feel as well. And I understand. I'm right there with you. So no, the map can't be saved. It can be improved, but it can't be saved. It's not worth playing. When there are other options, especially, it is not worth playing. And there are other options, thank fucking God.
Yeah,
So.
I'm looking at the playlist update from next week. So yeah, it shows Albagra. So Fortress Quads is still in, and then it just says map rotation, solos, duos, trios. So yeah, they haven't said if they're putting it in the rotation. We assume they will, but they haven't said. So like, since the map is out now, is the rotation next week going to include Fortress? I sure fucking hope not, but all it says is map rotation. So we'll see.
And the rotation's every 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, it's every 15 minutes.
So even then, if it's like either Fortress specifically or rotation, even then you can dodge it pretty easily with a 15-minute.
Yeah,
rotate.
Yeah, you can get unlucky at times and have to wait
get unlucky
a little while, but
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it's dog shit, miserable,
they haven't
and
said
trash.
anything about that. I do wonder, maybe they won't end up adding it into the rotation.
They certainly shouldn't. Yeah, they should just scrap it. I think your idea is the best one, though. Just make it be like, hey guys, and this would require Infinity Ward to listen to their community, which they've never done in the last 5 years, so this won't happen. But the best thing they could do is be like, hey, we've heard your feedback, and we're too lazy because we don't have a development team. We just have employees who do God knows what, because they don't communicate or develop video games. Hey guys, we've heard your feedback, and since we're too lazy or incompetent, or we don't have any devs to do this, instead of making Fortress like playable or just removing it and adding a new Resurgence map, because we don't want to do any work, instead what we'll do is we'll just have the Fortress mode. It's now called Al Mazrah Resurgence, and it's just going to be on a random POI. Yeah. That's the best thing that they could do that one could hope for. And even that is a far-fetched impossibility. But that would be the best thing they could do. Because I would actually try that. That could be fun.
Yeah, it'd be totally different every time.
Yeah, like super different every time. It would actually be pretty neat. In theory. Yeah. So, but they won't.
Yeah, I would, yeah. Yeah, they also just... It's unfortunate they add this map into, because if this introduced more bugs, which I'm sure it did, then again, it's like it only makes the whole Warzone experience worse. Like me not being able to shoot down a portable drone flying in, or a drone flying with a portable buy. Is that now a bug on all maps that was introduced when they added this map in? You're just making Warzone worse. Yeah. This whole thing was this was literally just an easy filler piece of content they could add in to not do anything else this season. And that's exactly what they've done.
Yeah.
Worst Warzone experience we've had, for sure.
Yep. For sure. So that encompasses our thoughts on Fortress wholly and completely. And let me be clear, I do not want to talk about this map ever again. I don't want to play it ever again. And I doubt we will. Especially with how close MW3 is. Don't care. This is getting the DMZ treatment from us. DMZ, we gave it one last try. It was fucking awful, miserable. Was that a Patreon episode or was that a public episode?
That was Patreon, yeah.
Okay, that was a Patreon episode. So if you patreon.com/Dropshot, if you want all of our thoughts on DMZ and why we've officially resigned on that mode, I'll never play it again. And if you want to know why, neither of us will. If you want to know why, you can go listen to that bonus episode. $5 a month. You spend more at Starbucks in a day. This is getting the same treatment. I'll never play Fortress again. I don't really care what they do. Again, if they improve it, if they make a whole fucking blog post about it, don't care. The improvements the only improvement it could make to make me go try it again is, hey, fucking the Coney group put a sat charge on the north wall of the fortress and fucking blew it out. And the entire structure of the map is different. Also, we added balloons, loot, buy stations, and more players. And now you should try it again. I would be like, okay, if you're going to change how the whole map looks, and it's its own instance, by the way. If you're going to change how the whole map looks, okay, sure, I'll try it again. Anything else, which is never going to happen, to be clear. So anything outside of that, I'm done. I'm not trying it again. I'm not talking about it again. It's not worth it. So yeah, if you enjoy Fortress, get fucked, but none of you do. I would be willing to bet literally not a single one of you listening enjoys playing Fortress. So no one cares that we're not going to talk about it again, but just to be clear, we won't. I'm done. Especially with MW3 in 62 days, 8 hours, 39 minutes. Why the fuck am I going to go play Fortress again? Because they added fucking more plates to the ramparts. Kill yourself in game if you think that's going to happen. Because it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, we're not going to do a brainstorm or
fuck no. No, we're
tips
done.
or anything on this. Because the other thing is, you guys that are playing Resurgence right now, I don't think any of you in Discord would prefer this over the other two maps, yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to make content for nobody that we don't want to make either. So yeah, that's just not happening. That was our original plan. We thought it was going to be handled, with a modicum of care and thought and consideration. It wasn't. So yeah, there's nothing to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, there won't be a brainstorm. There won't be a tips and tricks. It's not happening. Which was our original plan, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, doesn't make our job easier, makes our job harder, because now in a content drought, which we will continue to endure for the entirety of September, we are now going to have to find new things to talk about, which we will do. We always do. We get it done. But we haven't made our job easier with this decision. But it has to be done. We've said this before. We will say it again. We refuse to make content that we don't want to make, because then it's dog shit trash content. So, yeah. With that said,
what are we at right now?
We're at an hour and 2 minutes.
Yeah, Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I think we'll set the clip aside for now.
Yeah, we could talk about that some other time.
Yeah. Somewhere it fits better. I feel like just
maybe
here.
Yeah, one of the next 2 Saturdays we could do just talk kind of like the going live shit. Just hit the live button and talk about some of the things.
Yeah.
Oh, because World Series of Warzone's in a week too, so there will be some fun and exciting things that happen there. Is that next weekend actually? When is that? I think it's the 16th. No, when was it again? Let's see if I can find it anywhere online in the world. 9/16. Oh, that's next Saturday.
Yeah.
Maybe the Caldera ep is the 23rd then, actually. Or not Caldera. Maybe the Warzone 1 ep's the 23rd. And then this next Saturday, there will be some drama and shit that happens at the World Series of Warzone.
True.
For sure, some game-breaking bugs that lose someone 50,000 United States dollars.
Because it'll be over by the time we record, right?
It'll be over. It'll definitely... Well, oh yeah, we do it at noon. Fuck. It probably won't be actually.
6:30 our time. That's a lot of hours.
But there will be issues where there are pauses in between matches. There will be like 6 matches played at least. I don't know. It'd be cutting it real close. My guess is it'll still be going on. It'll just be almost over. We'll figure it out.
Well, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll make an executive decision. As always, keep your eyes on our Twitter and our Discord. On Monday, we will post our schedule. By then, we'll probably have a decision on what we're doing Saturday. But either way, we plan for sure on doing a farewell to Warzone 1 episode soon, in honor of the servers being shut down, because for all of Warzone 1's faults, many faults, which we will get into in that episode, it was fun and exciting to play, and it has a special place in our hearts and minds, as it does many of you, because you were getting paid more than your shit minimum wage retail job that you had, and you were also getting paid to not work. So it's a special place in your heart and in your memory, as it was for us and is for us. So we will give it its time in the sun one last time in an episode, either this Saturday or next. Don't know yet, but I do want to do that World Series of Warzone episode too. I think the next couple weekends are going to be the best time to do these types of things, these departures from MW2 and MW3, because nothing's going to be happening in either vein until COD next, or until Season 6, I guess. But there's probably going to be nothing either in Season 6, by the way. We're probably going to get another fucking nunchuck melee weapon, or some other fucking karate weapon you used to use to get your blue belt at the dojo when you were 7. And then there's going to be a pistol that's going to be either insanely broken or dog shit, or it won't work, like the pistol we've gotten for Season 5. Still can't use akimbo, by the way. Or, or a primary weapon that, again, will probably be a fully automatic assault rifle that's largely uninteresting. And it'll either be dog shit or broken, overpowered, and then they'll nerf it, and then it's going to have within 20 milliseconds time to kill of every single other assault rifle in the game, because that's how they've chosen to balance their guns now. No thought, no pros and cons, no niche use cases. They're all the same. They all have little recoil. They all have the same time to kill. They all have the same magazine size. They all have the same handling speed. They're all the same. It's boring. Dog shit. Trash employees at Infinity Ward who aren't developers. They don't develop games. They're embezzlers. That's correct. So yeah, until COD next, there's just going to be nothing to fucking talk about with MW3 or MW2. So until then, now will be a good time to do a farewell to Warzone 1 episode, which we'll do soon, and a World Series of Warzone episode, which I am very excited for as well. I think there's going to be a lot of drama. I think there's going to be a lot of otters, a lot of pistol kills. It's going to be fun and exciting. I think there are going to be a lot of no notification precision airstrike deaths. I think there are going to be a lot of I'm inside of a 12-foot thick reinforced rebar wall fortress underground 2 miles, died to a precision airstrike deaths as well for like $250,000. Sick tournament, by the way. Sick competitive integrity. And hopefully there's some cheaters that get exposed too, because that would be deeply amusing. Ideally,
that would be dope.
And again, ideally, as a reminder for you guys, best case scenario, a team of 3 people no one's ever heard of wins, and then people start looking at their VODs, and it's obvious all 3 of them are walling, but they win the tournament anyway. And then Infinity Ward is in a very awkward position, and they have to figure out what to do. That's the best case scenario, because it exposes the quote-unquote kernel level anti-cheat, which is not kernel level, by the way. Valorant has a kernel level anti-cheat. Anything outside of that is not kernel level, obviously. Go ask anyone who's playing ranked Warzone, or God forbid, ranked multiplayer right now, and you will realize there is no anti-cheat in this game. It's better than Warzone 1, but that's probably also partially because not everyone's in fucking lockdown anymore. So the market for cheats isn't as big, so there's not as much of a push to push them. So anyways, whatever.
They're all making thousands of dollars doing RMT on Tarkov, that's why.
Yeah, they've gone to Tarkov, yeah, for sure. So anyway, on Monday, we will post our schedule on Twitter at the Dropshot Pod and in our Discord in the events tab. So you can check that out and find out exactly what we're doing. We will probably have the Saturday topic by then dialed in. So that will be noted in the schedule. And if not, we'll make a note of that also. But either way, yeah, do that. And then last but certainly not least, patreon.com/thedropshot. Best way to support the show. $5 a month. You get ad-free episodes, early access episodes to all of our episodes, and you get 3 bonus episodes a month. If you wanted to get our patron exclusive Q&As or behind the scenes. You could upgrade from $5 a month to $10 or $20 a month respectively. We also do monthly hangouts. You can check out the website, see all the details, but gold's the biggest value and the best way to support the show. So consider it. Thanks in advance. We will be on the scope on Monday. Again, go to Discord, see details on that. Stay humble. And fuck Infinity
Stay humble.
Ward.